Hi, I'm Sanjay Nag-Chowdhury, Development Lead for the IBM App Connect Enterprise product. In this video, I will demonstrate how to use the log node and cover some enhancements that have been made for configuring the activity log. The log node was added in IBM App Connect Enterprise version 12.0.11. So I have ACE version 12.0.12 installed here actually, and I'm going to import and use a tutorial and update the flow with a couple of log nodes. So you should be able to follow along and do the same as I am doing. I'm going to open the tutorials gallery and search for the validation tutorial. I'm going to use the one which is using a JSON schema to validate JSON messages against it. So I'll just start the tutorial and import the projects. This is the flow which is used by the tutorial. It has a validation node and it uses a successful message and a failure message to test the flow. In ACE 12.0.11, we have added a new log node. And this node allows you to write entries to activity log. So I'm going to add two log nodes into the flow. I'm going to add the first one after the HTTP input node. Between the HTTP input node and the validate node. And I'm going to add the second one so that it is after the mapping node where a failure has happened. Okay, so now I'm going to configure the nodes. The flow uses a JSON schema, so that's this one here, or the schema.json. I can open it up. You can see the schema. And I'm going to reference the message body which is coming in against that schema. So if I go to the log node, I'm going to first go to the map inputs tab, and I'm going to add the schema location. So I've done that. And now if I click on configure, a panel will come up which allows me to configure the log node. In this log node, I'm just going to put some text in here to say that an order was received. So I'll put received an order in flow. Now I can specify some of the flow details. So I can use the application name, and I can also use the flow name. And I'll say the time it was received as well. So it's a simple message detail here that will appear in the activity log. And I'm going to add a custom message field as well. So I'll call this order. And in here, I'm going to specify the order that was actually received. So the contents of the order. So I'll save that. Close the panel. And now we can see that the log node has been configured with the JSONata expression. So I'm going to now configure the second log node, and this is when a failure occurs. I need to access the exception list so I can get the error message. So I'm going to add the exception list in my map inputs. And now I'm going to click on configure. So in the message detail, I'm going to say an error occurred while validating the message in flow, and I'll specify the flow name. And I'm going to add a custom message field again, and in here I'll say that the error message details. For this, I'm going to use a JSONata expression which is using a map function. So you can find out more about how to use the map function from the JSONata documentation. I will paste this expression in the YouTube video description or in the comments, and also in the associated blog entry which will come out with the video. If I save that, I can also add a comment to the node so you can see the expression. So this is the JSONata expression which I'm using in the log node. So if I now run this flow and put a successful message through first. So the message went through and was validated. If we have a bring up the web UI and look at the activity log for the flow, we can see this log entry which is now added in the activity log. So it says received an order, it has the application name and the flow name and the timestamp. And in the tags, it has the order details which was received. Okay, let's try using the failure message. So this will fail because the price value is using a string, but this is not supposed to be a string. So if I click send, we get that a result that the message failed validation. And if I refresh the activity log, you can now see that the second message went through, and you can see the details that an error occurred, and you can see the error message as well to say that the value was a string, but it shouldn't have been for the price field. So that is using the log node. We've also made some other enhancements to activity log as well. So if I open the server conf YAML and search for activity, there's a section here for activity log. And if I uncomment the activity log template and uncomment enabled, so it's set to true, I can specify that activity log entries can be written to console log. So I'm going to set that to true, and I'll just use the console log format of text. You could also specify some other values there, such as IBM JSON. So let me save that. So the server conf YAML has been updated. I'm just going to restart my server so that it picks up the configuration change. Okay, so the server is restarted. If I open the console log, I can see it. And now if I put the same failure message through, no need to redeploy. So let's put the failure message through and click send. So you see the message failed validation. And if I open the console log, I can see the activity log entries in the console log. So in this video, I've shown how to use the log node and how to configure activity log. The message detail can be configured using a JSONata expression. Different parts of the message tree in the message assembly can be specified, as well as using a schema to access parts of a message that is being processed.